Okay, today's topic is perpetual motion.
In the end, perpetual motion machines contradict the very laws of physics. Patent offices have stopped accepting applications for these inventions, and scientists generally agree that the idea is impossible in our physical world. But that doesn't mean we haven't learned something. The pursuit of these machines has pushed innovation in other areas of science and technology.
Okay, so the scientific community will say, hey, the law of thermodynamics, there's eventually going to be entropy for your perpetual motion device. But hey, look, I discovered perpetual motion in an old clock at the Valley House that had been running for decades without any batteries. How did it work? Well, I didn't discover it. Whoever made the clock is the one who discovered perpetual motion here. How did they do it? With the capacitor and the pendulum. Put the two together. Hey, look, you can run a clock without batteries for decades and decades. This is like the Oxford Bell and the dry pile. Hey, it's been running for decades. Once you do that, I will say you have what I would call a perpetual motion device. But naysayers are going to say, hey, that's not actually perpetual. The Oxford Bell is eventually going to run out of power one day. Well, don't listen to those guys. Hey, decades works for me. All right. If you can make a clock run for decades, look, that's important. So you want to learn how to do that. Well, I told you one way. What's the other way? Well, remember the dry pile? Well, the key here is the original photovoltaic pile is sealed in wax. So the electrolyte doesn't dissipate. So that's the key to making the Oxford Bell run forever. You have to make it so your electrolyte can never evaporate. But and we've seen since then also the crystal cell battery. You can run a motor for years on end with the crystal cell battery. Uh, what is it? Well, it's a mixture of salts, okay? And it's a dry pile. But the problem here is it's going to expand as it crystallizes, and there's going to be a lot of pressure. That's how it's making its electricity, much like how a quartz crystal you can create piezoelectric electricity out of it. Well, you're doing the same thing by this mix of crystals that are all trying to expand inside a copper pipe. What if we make the pipe out of titanium or something even more difficult for the crystal expanding? So that's the key for the crystal cell battery. Have an indestructible tube that it can't expand in, something that is more rigid than crystal expansion. Okay, that's going to be very difficult, but you can do it, right? And make it run for years on end. So no salt substitute, alum, uh, Epsom salt, right, and baking soda in equal parts. And you can do all kinds of variations beyond that, but that's how you make a crystal cell battery.